Welcome. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome everybody into the space. Pleasure to have you here. Pleasure to have you here. Let's give it a few moments for folks to arrive. If y'all can hear me, and it does not sound like I'm screaming over the music here, can you drop a one if you can hear me just fine? Just give me a little feedback. Let me know if you can hear me. Let's drop a 1 into the chat. Beautiful, thank you. NYC Mabel, Coach Jazzy, welcome. Miss Abby Williams, welcome. Marie, Sade, Obsidian Source, Brianna, welcome everybody. It's a real pleasure and honor to be here with you all. Just gonna give it another couple of moments as folks are arriving. And as we wait for some folks to arrive, please enter into the chat here. Where are you based? Where are you coming in from? Where are you coming in from? Just go ahead and enter that into the comment box here. Just let everybody know where you're coming in from and what spots are being honored here today. Okay, let's see what we got here. All right, we got NYC Mabel coming in from NYC. Welcome. Max from New York, Inner Citizen, Venice Beach. Welcome. We got Avs Thomas, Ohio. We got Brooklyn, Vegas, Georgia, Nashville, ATL. Bronx, Boogie Down, hot sunny Florida, NYC, Luxembourg, beautiful. Montclair, New Jersey. Yeah, welcome. So I'm very much looking forward to a conversation here. This is a conversation and an invitation to a practice of self-discovery. My name is Didier, for those I haven't had a chance to work with or meet. It's a great honor to be here with the HealHaus family. I've had the honor and privilege to spend some time learning with family and community in the HealHaus space for the past year or so, facilitating workshops, Life Alignment Lab, and some other sessions. And I was honored for the nod to do a live here in service of the upcoming equinox. I floated an idea to the HealHaus fam about this as a moment for us to, in community, consciously, collectively discern what is emerging in this new season for us, for our lives. And so as a life alignment coach, and I'll spend a few moments for those I haven't had the privilege of working with to talk about life alignment, my main call is to support us all to stand in the truth of who we are, to stand in our power and offer our gifts to this world. With an upcoming seasonal equinox, it seems appropriate to take up this question on what gifts we're here to offer to this world in this emerging season, what it is that is blossoming in our lives, what it is that we want to blossom in the world around us. There's a lot of movement that has been happening within ourselves and within our world and community in the past year. And so let us be intentional on what it is that we're making this new season. And so this is meant to be a dialogue. I'm going to offer a few framing thoughts here, but wanted this to be a live Q&A. You know, the Q&A is actually a bit of a misnomer. This will be more of a Q and Q. And so as someone in a practice of coaching, and I'll say a word about that here. So coaching, as distinct from some of the practices we know in our healing modalities and self-supportive personal development modalities. If therapy, for example, and some of the healing modalities are oriented towards a living embodied history that's rushing forth constantly, coaching is something that's oriented towards the future. It's about new possibilities, new skills, new choices, new outcomes. And we need all the modalities we can get. We need all the medicines we can get, right, in service of what's most important to us. And so I'm here with an orientation towards possibility, orientation towards expanding our choices. We want to be more choiceful and more willful for what we care most about. In my sense, that's what coaching is. And so I'm happy to hold some space here for us all collectively and explore what is this emerging season for you. What are you calling in to your life right now? And what support might be helpful. So I'll see if I can activate this Q&A situation on the live, and then at that point we'll just flow, and maybe we'll have some folks kind of hop in the space as well, and we'll see how it goes. To start, I wanted to offer a framing thought. Actually, before I proceed, please drop a why if you can hear what I'm saying. Drop a why if these words are reaching you. So I can know that the dialogue is in effect, and then we can start to engage. I'm going to offer some framing thoughts here. So, spring. Thank you. Appreciate that. So spring is emerging. The equinox cometh this weekend, and so appreciate the why. So glad to know we're dialoguing now. So spring is coming. What does spring mean to you? What does spring mean to you? An equinox coming. What intention are you bringing to an equinox, to a moment where we mark a continual emergence of light and life, coming out of a season of hibernation, coming out of a season of quiet and stillness? We emerge. Spring is a season of sprouting. And so what for you are you calling in as you're thinking about this emerging season? What are you calling for? We got rebirth, supple skin saying rebirth. Yeah. Jolligraphy, newness, growth, rebirth, renewal. For many of us, spring invokes a season and a spirit and a sense of renewal, rebirth, new beginnings. And so in service of us activating and bringing new beginnings to our lives and pursuing a new season with intention, I'd like to offer a few framing thoughts here to help support the way that we can intentionally curate what this new beginning might be, rather than solely react our way through it, meander our way through it, or wander our way through it. I'm not saying those things are bad. I'm saying we can be intentional, yes? And we're in the business of consciously being intentional and bolstering, resourcing our intentions. So, to that end, reignite, refreshing mind and habits, spring cleaning, airing out, starting, right? New journey, releasing stale patterns and relationships. Y'all, right? We're naming all of our intentions. And as we hold these, I'd like to invite us all to consider 5 things. 5 things that I'd like to offer as a kind of framing for how we can intentionally curate these intentions that we're naming for this emerging season. 5 things. And I may ask, collective learning space here, I may ask for folks to feel free to just drop into the chat, the comment box, just anything that resonates. I'm going to invite questions, definitely, like towards the end of my brief share here. It'll be a few minutes. I'm not sure how long, but we'll see. But feel free to go ahead and just drop things into the chat, questions, comments. If you feel something resonate, just let that be known. Let it, because when we When we acknowledge, we actually amplify and activate and integrate. So acknowledgement can be quite powerful. In any event, five things I'd like to offer. One is an orientation around the seasons of our lives. I know we got spring coming up, but we also got internal seasons, just as we have internal weather. I'm going to offer a brief framing on each of these, and then and then a question, and then we'll open it up for dialogue. Season. We're going to talk about seasons. I'd like to offer a space and chance for us to talk about starlight. Starlight. Thirdly, we'll be talking about soil. Fourthly, we'll be talking about the shells of our lives. And then fifthly, sprouts. I'm going to give a high-level overview of some of these things. These are metaphors and quite literal forces that we can be in conscious relationship with as we're entering a moment of spring. So first is a question. And I may, given the hunger here to dialogue, maybe I'll just point to a few, like 3 or so, and then we'll see what emerges. So first things first, right? We got different seasons on this planet. We have seasons, yes. And depending on where you are on this planet, you may have a greater proximity or intimacy with certain seasons over others, right? Where my people are from originally, I'm born and raised in New York. My parents migrated to New York from Haiti. And in Haiti, like in many other places of the world, there is a lot of sunshine and a lot of moments for what we might consider to be the abundance of summer, where the expression and fullness of life is offered and expressed. And of course, we have rainy seasons. Each season, wherever we are on the planet, connotes a certain metaphor, if you will, a certain call on what type of transformation is being invited. So in the season of winter, which we just emerged from, we often think of this as a moment of hibernation, as a moment of stillness, where all of the seed planting and seed scattering that we had done in the autumn, right, where we're really imagining about what's possible. We're planting seeds, we're scattering seeds, we're starting to gather seeds for the long hibernation moment of quiet and stillness. Here we are emerging and ready and willing to want to offer something to the world. Before we even get there, we in winter and we hibernate and we get still and we discern what it is that wants to be birthed and nurtured. Here we are in spring now, emerging, and there's some sprouts that are coming up. We got some sprouts that want to emerge. After spring, we know is the season of summer, which often is regarded as a season of abundance. And so this is a moment when we want to call in what it is that we're here to spread to the world, what abundance we're calling in, what abundance we want for ourselves and for the planet. Before we get back into a moment of autumn and fall, rather, where we start to plant seeds for new possibilities, right? And then we gather a resource for a time to rest and reflect, just as Bravina is saying. So first invitation here for you is to consider what season of your life do you find yourself in right now? If you were to think about the life journey and trajectory that you have, that is a cycle of seasons. Actually, what season do you find yourself to be in right now in your life? Thinking about winter, thinking about spring, thinking about autumn, thinking about summertime, right? Just think about that for you, right? What is that for you? Some of us still might be in a moment of restoration. We hear spring is coming, hold out. I'm not ready for spring yet. I still got to restore. I still got to replenish. And if that's the case, then we take up, right? What are the practices that are supportive for you to hibernate? We have folks naming, like, I'm still in winter mode. So what keeps you restored? What supports you to nurture and replenish who you are and who you need to be? I'd like to invite us to take that up for each of us, right? Some of us are still in the middle of it. And if that's the case, right, what needs restoring for you? What needs rest for you, right? If we're in late winter and we're ready for a blossom soon, right, What needs to happen before that blossom begins, if that's going to be an intentional piece? Some folks are coming in I'm in a moment of personal springtime, as Chase Frost is talking about. So a moment of watering seeds. Whatever it is for you, just consider, what season are you in right now in the moment of your life, and what will be supportive to care for that season? What would be a small thing that you can do to care for that? The next thing we have is this thing called Starlight. And I appreciate folks just naming. Some folks are in baby spring, so I appreciate Coach Jazzy. I'm in baby spring. So working my way to maybe mature spring. Ravine Whalers, death, patterns of thought processes, and planting simultaneously. Beautiful. So I'm gonna offer a few more quick reflections here, and then we'll open it up to dialogue. All right. So second piece is around starlight. When I'm pointing to starlight, I'm talking about what keeps you guided. There's starlight all around us, starlight within us. And when we're talking about starlight, we happen to live in a solar system where we often pay homage and reverence to a single star called the sun. And however you might make sense of this, what keeps you guided, if we think of starlight as that which keeps us guided? Which is a question that we always need to tend to if we're interested in consciously curating the next chapter of our lives. So many of us, we find ourselves wandering and reacting to the forces of life as they come our way. We're like leaves in the wind, which can be an incredibly beautiful and poetic thing. And we have this option, this choice, this capacity to consciously curate. If we want to consciously curate, then it's useful to name and honor and continually orient ourselves to what keeps us guided. For me, I know things that keep me guided are specific commitments that I have. I am committed to creating and holding transformative learning space for people to stand in their power and offer the gifts of this world. I am committed and a living commitment to global movements and struggles for healing, justice, and equity worldwide. That guides me. I feel guided by the blessings and impulses and wisdom and presence of ancestry. That keeps me guided. My community, folks that hold me down, check in, keep me guided. Right? They remind me about what I stand for. So whatever it is for you, right? So Lukumi, people guided by spiritual elements. Yeah, beautiful. Right? So whatever it is that keeps you guided, we want to be attentive and mindful of what keeps us guided. So many of us, we lose sight of our guiding forces. We lose sight of our guiding forces. And as a result, we find ourselves meandering. Now, for some of us, what keeps us guided can be a beautiful force of emotional life. Right? Marie, my starlight is joy. Beautiful. So we know that for some of us, no matter what we do next in our life, no matter what emerges in spring, it's got to be joyful. It's got to be joyful. We got to optimize for joy. If I got 5 choices in front of me for what I do in the spring, I got 5 potential projects to take up, or 3, or 1, or 5 possible new partnerships, or 3, or 1, or whatever it is. Whatever it is, it better be joyful, right? So that's a beautiful way to orient towards what keeps us guided. Chase Frost, navigated by divine direction. Beautiful. Whatever it is for you, we want to be attentive to that, and then take up the question, what is something I can do to nurture that guidance? As this emerging season comes, what can I do to nurture that guidance? What can I do to pay homage to that guidance? How can I resource that guidance? Is there a dedication of sorts? Is there a prayer? Is there an art project? Is there a declaration? Is there a mantra? Is there a journaling experience? Is there an altar? Like, what is it for you to continually attend to? All right, new spring, new beginnings, refreshed guidance. What do I need to do? Right? What do I need to do? Coach Jazzy saying intuition and community. Beautiful. And then the third thing, and then we'll open it up here. The third thing I want to invite us to attend to is shell. Right? We all have shells. We all have shells. Right? So first I was talking about considering what season we're in, what season of life we're in. Secondly, I'm saying consider our starlight, or if we're interested in consciously renewing, what keeps us guided. And thirdly, I'm saying we all have shells. Seeds have shells. We always have shells, things that keep us safe, things that we know keep us safe. We have self-protective mechanisms. That's what we need in order to be human. We all need safety. And so what are the shells of your life that you found to be quite supportive to keep you safe? Maybe it's time for a renewal. Maybe it's time for an upgrade. Maybe it's time for a cracking, an opening, so that new life can emerge. Right? Consider the patterns and the practices. Someone pointed to some of these things, and we always need to attend to, right, some of our patterns, our beliefs and behaviors that we know no longer serve us. And so we want to be attentive to that. And I want to open up space. I want to open up space for us to dialogue about all these things and what might be supportive. What questions do you have? What question are you sitting with to support your own capacity to discern your season, to discern your starlight, what keeps you guided, and to identify and open, as needed, the shells you carry? Now, there are a few other prompts and other kind of pieces of a more robust framework that I've worked with and continue to work with for myself and with my kind of clients and partners. And that includes attending to our soil. That includes attending to our sprouts, the seeds. And I'm just inviting here for us to think about, like, what questions do we have now that we want to invite in to bring in greater resource for us to consciously curate this next chapter of our lives, whatever that might be. And Jennifer is asking this beautiful question here. I'm going to open up the Q&A feature in a moment. Do you have to have a shell to have safety? Beautiful question. No matter what we do in our lives, no matter who we are, no matter what stage we're in, we all need safety always. There is no formula for what safety looks like. We all have different needs for safety. And safety isn't always guaranteed, but we do especially when we're navigating differences of power in our families and our teams and our relationships and communities and institutions. But we can do our best to identify, like, what are the conditions for my own safety. And it may not be a shell per se, it may be something else. Point is, we all want to have conscious practices of keeping ourselves healthier and safer ways. Whether it's boundaries, whether it's making requests, whether it's establishing agreements with our people, whatever it is. So that's one way I might respond to this notion or this question of, do I have to have a shell for safety? Point is, we all need safety, and it looks differently for each of us. What do you need? Right? What do you need? So I'm going to open up the Q&A, and some folks are dropping some things in here, and let's see how we get in here. Let's see how we get in here. Feel free to open up your questions. I'm gonna invite anyone to hop in here if you like. And first, and by the way, Jennifer, I hope that was supportive. Jennifer, with your question, I hope that was clarifying, but I appreciate the question. Ravine, so I attended your other session. I feel like I'm overwhelmed with lead in the alchemy process. So trying to plant and sow and reap in the spring season is feeling a bit much. Ravine, thank you so much for offering that and for sharing that. The hearts are coming through, so I'm sure there's a lot of resonance with that sentiment. And so when I first invited the question on what season are you in, right? You notice a number of folks said winter. I'm still in winter. I'm just starting my winter. I'm in a moment of rest and replenishment. Now, as the planet and as our lives are being oriented with nature towards a moment of spring. Oh, what's up, Mel? Thank you. Appreciate that. As we're oriented in that way, there's no expectation from anyone. There is only an invitation for you to discern what you need and what's called for, which for some of us might be rest, might be more restoration. There is no rush or urgency. Healing cannot be rushed and is never effective when rushed. And our healing journeys, of course, are ongoing, lifelong perhaps, intergenerational, multi-generational. But this is first just a pointing towards this thing called pace. when feeling called to do the work of engaging the lead of our lives, so to speak. And for those that might not be familiar, so Mel kind of alluding to another session kind of did recently with HealHaus fam, talking about the lead of our lives and wanting to alchemize what the weight of our lives, what keeps us heavy. And the very least, I would invite us always to consider that we cannot carry the lead of our lives alone. We cannot. Mel, I know you know this. I know you know this. And so what support can we invite in to allow ourselves to place lead in our hands as something that can be held in community and or in a way that supports our own capacity to be present to it? Because so often we can't even be present to the lead or the pain of our lives. We can't even be present to it because of its overwhelm and because of everything else going on around us. And so what support might be available? What support might we want to call in, right, in order to be able to hold, right, collectively in community? And so to that point, we got folks coming in. So come on in. Come on in. And the invitation here is for all of us to engage a space of shared learning. What's going on, Mel? Great to
see you. Hey, DDA. We're here.
We're here. We're here. Yeah, great to be here with you. What's going on? What's going on?
So, first, thank you. It was such a blessing, your last offering. I was so blessed to be able to attend that session. It's been really helpful for me. I was actually just going over my notes again this past Friday, actually. And I was like, well, if I can do this alchemy process, I'll be rich because I'll have so much gold. But like you, when you were saying before about what is your why, I also feel like I am called to healing and to help and nurture. But what I've realized is that like I first have to start with me, because I've definitely tried to do that with like other family members and trying to like, I remember one time, like, cause I was doing like so many different nonprofits. A coworker said to me, like, do you literally leave work and try to save the world after you leave? And I didn't realize that at the time. So that's what I'm saying. Like and often people who are called to be healers often go through a lot of trauma and transformation themselves, right? So like when you were saying like, what season are you in? Like, I feel like I'm in between two seasons, or it's like how it can be like in DC, it can be like 70 degrees one day. And then like tomorrow it's going to be like down to 30. So it feels like I'm in between two seasons. Do you know what I mean? So I'm trying to like, how do you move in that space? Or like, what do you focus on? Like, I know you said like, but it feels urgent.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
It feels
yes.
Everything.
Yeah. Your healing feels urgent, and the healing practice that you're called to do feels urgent. Yeah. And sometimes I thank you so much for sharing that. I can totally relate. And tell me, what is it about that urgency? What is it about that urgency that feels challenging to navigate? One thing I heard you say is it can be challenging to discern. Like I know that I'm called to practice for others. I'm also called to maybe care for myself and not leave myself behind, because I've noticed that I may have a tendency of continually caring for the world without bringing myself along. And so what is challenging for you in holding the urgency while simultaneously caring for yourself?
Well, I guess one, because like I think I mentioned before about trying to break old patterns, because my old pattern is like, okay, I see that my mom needs this, or that like everybody else needs something. So it's to take a step back and actually like look at what I need. And that has been like, I'm getting better. But in terms of the urgency, you know, my younger sister passed in 2019, very abruptly, tragically. And so like I have not been the same since then. Kind of like I'm still trying to find out who I am in this new process,
Mm,
and also breaking up some unhealthy family patterns and relationships that didn't serve me, but that I felt like, especially because of the religious framework that I used to subscribe to, like
mhm,
you have to honor and you have to do X, Y, and Z, but like
mhm,
that doesn't give people a license to disrespect and dishonor you.
mm,
So it's like, as I'm like breaking those things and just feeling like I'm running out of time because like my sister was only 27. I'm sorry.
mm, mm,
And so that's what it's like,
mhm.
because I don't know how, and it's like, ugh, sorry, I was already emotional,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
anyway,
Mel.
just feeling like you, like I want to experience that, like that joy and that peace, like
Mhm.
fully, not just like in fleeting moments, and not just like I'm happy for other people, but like to be truly deeply like that for myself, you know.
Yeah, yeah, Mel, beautiful, beautiful. First of all, let me offer a loving reminder and check out the hearts coming through, right? The hearts coming your way. All right. So can you perceive those? Can you feel those hearts?
Yeah.
So first thing, just a loving reminder to never apologize for the truth of who we are, right? Including a truth that emerges in all types of ways, right? Never, this reminder, never apologize for that. Um, Secondly, I think there's a beautiful call I'm hearing you say. And do you, I don't know even realize, I don't know if you realize how incredibly dedicated you are to doing your best to be of service to those around you and to this world that's so on fire. The dedication is incredibly palpable, and I feel it, and I just want to acknowledge you and your dedication and your service to this world. Sometimes we forget to actually consider and acknowledge, like, register what it is that we're actually doing. Like, this is not easy work. That said, if you were to, I'd like to ask you a question, okay?
Mhm.
If you were to honor yourself in a way that ensures that your own needs are met as you continue to be in service to those around you, if you were to not leave yourself behind, but actually ensure that your needs are simultaneously fulfilled, what would your life look like? What would that look like, and what would that feel like?
I just had to take a breath for a moment and just sit with that.
So what do you, even in the moment where you take a breath, what do you sense immediately in your body?
It just feels like a warm light. It
Mm,
feels like um like sitting on the beach and the sun is on you. You don't got to
mm.
worry about sunscreen because it's not, there's no rays burning you. Even dark skin, I done got sunburned. I was like, oh, what going on? It feels like safety and protection, and just
Mm,
love and being cared for and just being at ease.
mm,
Like, especially for like black women, even black men too, but just a sense of ease and not to always have to be struggling and striving and like wanting to do better. But sometimes I'm just like, I just want to just be and just be.
mhm.
So that's what that feels like.
Yeah, beautiful, beautiful. So I'd like to invite you to do something. I'd like you to, are you willing to try something, Mel?
Sure.
So that sensation, that sense that you have here, I'd like to invite you to consider, and maybe there's a practice here for you, of actually cultivating a relationship, an actual space where you can get in touch with that opening, that light, that beach, that sun, as an ongoing practice to position you towards your emerging future. And by that, I mean, the moment I asked you that question, you immediately shifted towards a place of possibility. Because at the moment, right, well, prior to that question, I heard you describe a sense of feeling in lack of care that's required to bring yourself along. And that, I'm not saying that we don't experience a sense of deficit of care in our lives, especially for those of us that are always constantly in service. But many of us, when we pivot from a kind of deficit based imagining of what's present for us to a possibility based imagining of what's available to us, we immediately find ourselves open to new resource. And so I'm inviting you to consider like that shift that happened. You took a breath. Like there's a whole series of practices you can do just around that shift that happened as something that positions you to be ready to open yourself up to resource. Then we can talk about like making requests and how do we say yes and be of service without self-sacrificing in a way that's harmful. Like all those types of things that often happens for us. Like I'm raising my hand because I recognize that, right? So is that supportive?
Yes, thank you, thank you, thank you, TDA.
Cool. Yeah, my pleasure. No, I appreciate you hopping on and yeah, just open up the space. And thank you for opening up the space, right? I just wanted to invite folks to hop in if they're interested in kind of sharing up a question. But that's something that I would leave with you. And I hope that might open up something. But and also, you know, remember not to carry this stuff alone. and so what's one small low risk experiment you can do in the next week? What's one small experiment you can do in the next week? You don't need to answer this. In fact,
Oh,
I would encourage you not to, right?
okay.
So this is a gift I'm offering you
Okay.
for you to walk away with, right? What's one experiment you can do in the next week to bring yourself along in your practice of cultivating that beach?
Okay.
Is that supportive? Is that
It
helpful?
is. It
Okay,
is.
cool. Thank you, Mel.
Thank you.
Appreciate you. Appreciate you. The space is open. We are just experimenting with collaborative learning here. Collaborative learning. And shout out to Mel. Shout out to the bravery of Mel, right? I'm just hopping in there and be like, yo, I'm a human being. I'm a human being, and I noticed that it's possible. More is possible as I'm entering this next season, right? And could I get a little like support? You know, so just shout out to you, Mel, for doing that. The space is open. Anyone is welcome to hop in if you'd like some targeted support as you're thinking about this moment of a spring equinox that's emerging. As you're thinking about what spring means to you, right? As you're thinking about what resource you're calling in, what starlight, right? What starlight, what keeps you guided, right? As you're thinking about that, as you're thinking about what shells. I think there was a question earlier too. Mercedes, I see your question about dealing with resistance. Mercedes, you got to give me more than that. It's a little vague. Like what kind of resistance are you talking about? Resistance internally, resistance in the outside world, resistance around what? Like the space is open. You're welcome to hop into the space and we could have a bit more of a focused conversation if you like. But in the absence of more context, right, I'm not going to be able to offer much. There was a question earlier. Yeah, okay. MKMM Kerr Ollins. Forgive me for mispronouncing that. So, some shells open naturally, some need to be opened manually. How can we discern between the two? Interesting question. How do we discern between shells, the kind that keeps us safe, that need to be opened manually, and those that open naturally? Now, my sense is this is another, like y'all are asking some questions that there's context behind, there's context behind these questions. And so I would say like hop into this mix and offer a bit more context, right? What to you seems to be a shell that you've experienced that needs to be opened manually and what needs to be opened naturally. Now, my sense is, regardless if a shell needs to be opened naturally or manually, we can be intentional. We can be intentional. We can carry intention even with the forces of nature. And so my question is to MK or Rollins, my question to you is, what's your intention in opening this shell or opening a shell in this moment in your life? What intention do you have with this? What vision do you have for yourself on the other side of this opening? And then we can work together and discern, all right, what resource might be supported? What choices are available? Who do you need to be in order to engage that naturally or intentionally? I'm offering the reframe of intention rather than manual as something that might be useful. But I hope that's supportive. Let's see. Yeah, let me know how that lands, and if there's if that's supportive, or if you'd like to offer any additional context on that. By the way, space is open, y'all. Feel free to hop into the space if you'd like to pose something to discover together. Mercedes, resistance internally to grow. How do I do that? Mercedes, you got to hop in here. Mercedes, I know you got to hop in here, Mercedes. You know you do. I'm teasing. I'm playing. What's the resistance? What's the resistance? Now, many of us have resistances to internal growth for a whole variety of reasons. Mercedes, look at you hopping in here. All right. All right. Mercedes coming through. Let's see here. What's going on, Mercedes?
Hi.
Hi, look at you coming in here and
I'm
just
socially awkward sometimes,
bravely owning your discovery. Bravely owning your discovery. Shout out to the bravery that you're embodying and practicing right now. Something is already unfolding. So what's going on? Hi, where are you? So I haven't checked. Like, where are people based? Where are people coming in from?
Florida.
All right. So,
Yeah.
so what's going on, Mercedes?
Well, the reason why I asked the question is because it's something that I struggle with. Like, you have certain goals that you want to achieve or things that you want to do. For me personally, I think it's like my mind that gets in the way. Like, I start thinking and then procrastinate, and it's really me that gets in my way. And obviously, like, I don't want to do that. But my biggest question, and I kind of left a comment earlier, like, what was I saying? About, like, just transitioning. Like, you need to transition, but it's very hard to do that. And I don't know, like, sometimes I just feel very stuck.
Yeah.
So I'm just wondering, like, how do you work around feeling stuck?
Mercedes, thank you so much for offering that. And again, I applaud and acknowledge your bravery for owning an area of discovery for you. You're claiming your own discovery here, and some bravery and vulnerability is involved. So just shout out to you for doing that. So beautiful, beautiful question. I'm hearing you describe an internal resistance to change that is coming forth, and you find yourself navigating senses of procrastination and also internal resistances that leave you feeling stuck in this moment of change for you, and you're wanting to transition out of that. Yeah, you're wanting to more mobility and choice of movement in this moment.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so one of the things I'd like to offer just a reflection here for you, and then a question. All right. So I'll offer a reflection and a question, and then we'll see how that lands. All right. So many of us, when we know some change is on the horizon, we know something is calling our attention, and we feel some resistance. The resistance often isn't about the change itself, whether it's a new job, a new relationship, a new experience, a new project, a new health reality, whatever it is. People often don't resist change, especially if we know it's good for us. People tend to resist loss or the perception of loss that change would bring.
Yeah.
And so part of what I would invite you to consider I see this as you're thinking about this, what horizon is calling your attention right now. A question I would ask you is, in this moment, what are you feeling afraid to let go of?
Is that a rhetorical question, or
No, it's actually it's a very direct, explicit question. And if there are many things, you're welcome to offer a bit more context if that'd be helpful. But
yeah, I think the best way that I could describe it is that part of the transition process requires like a death to your part of your identity, or like something that I identify with. And that's something that really scares me, is being able to see this person that I was, or that basically kept me safe for a long time, and not knowing like, who is this girl that I'm going into, like feeling like I am in an ocean but my feet are not touching the ground. And that, to me, it's really scary.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Will you take a few breaths with me right now? Let me just take some
yeah.
breath. Yeah, let's just breathe here. And we breathe, right? Not to dismiss what we experience, but to be present to it.
I'm sorry.
And we also normalize, right? We normalize the truth of our experience and the truth of our emotional wisdom. There's wisdom that's emerging here. Let us never apologize for it. And so in this moment, I want you to think about this ocean that you've been finding yourself swimming in without a capacity to put your feet on the ground. Right? And I want you, Mercedes, to imagine that there is a series of buoys, like some like floaties that all of a sudden just like, right, just surrounded you, and the ground has actually somehow magically started to elevate, and you can start to feel the ground beneath your feet. Are you with me? Okay. As you consider that, what would be possible for you in your life in this moment if the ground beneath your feet were as reliable as can be in this particular moment of your life? The first question for you is, what would be possible for you if that were the case right now?
I think in terms of feeling security, I would feel more stable and safe.
More stable and safe. More stable and safe. Beautiful. Now, in this place of stability and safety, you said something incredibly wise and profound. You said, in this moment of transition that I know is coming, I'm afraid to lose a part of my identity. Right? And you said, as you consider the possibility of stability and safety, and you're thinking about this coming change, in this moment, rather than thinking about the question, what will you lose? Part of your identity, yeah, which is real, which feels real. Here's a different question. From this place of stability and safety, what can you gain, Mercedes?
I think that in itself is kind of scary because I think it's so expansive what I have to gain.
What do you feel in your body right now as you
In
take
my
up that
gut.
question?
In my gut.
Your gut, you feel it in your gut. You feel an expansiveness in your gut?
My gut, I feel, you know, when you know something's right, like you feel like a warmth in your gut area. That's what I feel. Maybe it could be my solar plexus because my solar plexus is a bit shaky, but when I said that, I knew it felt right. Like
Amazing.
it felt like that is, yeah.
Amazing. And so how do you interpret that? What do you make of that? What does that tell you?
I guess we're right back to square one. It's like, why is somebody getting in my way? You know, like, yeah.
Part of the opportunity here available for you is to simultaneously hold the very real attachment to the things we're afraid to lose, parts of ourselves, a sense of identity, a sense of competence, relationships, like, right, reputation, like whatever it is, right, a certain resource, like, and then consider simultaneously, there's something I can gain. There's something to be gained. Otherwise, it wouldn't be emerging right now. Like, universe, spirit, the divine, my life, however you want to think of it, is inviting you to consider something to gain in this moment of transition. And the more that you can attune to that, the more you can intentionally be in conscious relationship with it and say, all right, what's the best possible thing that can happen through this and through this transition, and what do I need, and what can I call in? Without attending to those things, I mean, without attending to those things, we can find ourselves in that moment of an absence
Can I
of.
ask one more question?
Of course, of course.
What does that
By the
look
way,
like?
just people Mercedes. So Jess, thank you for voicing so many things I'm feeling as well. Right? Look at you got this. Yeah, look at all the love. Look at this, all the love, HealHaus. Look at all the love. I'm just scrolling up at all the love. Go ahead, Mercedes. Go ahead.
What does that look like in practice?
So which part?
The part of trying to shift my perspective from thinking this is what I have to lose to,
yeah,
oh, this is what I'm gaining. Like, it's not from a perspective of lack, right?
yeah.
Like, what does that look like in practice?
Yeah. So it's a question to just. So this is something to discover, Mercedes. Right. This question is to discover, and it's not about coming up with an action plan per se in this moment, right? It is about actually discovering what's available to you. From there, we can enter to a place of strategy and action. But before that, it's useful to say, well, hold up. Like, there's something to discover around what's available to me, what's possible, what I can gain from going through this transition right now. That doesn't mean that we don't grieve the losses that might be present or emerging. So we need to grieve. We like, let's bring resource and support and practice for that, right? That's real. And simultaneously, is there a pillow, a cushion that you can sit on? Is there a notebook or a mirror you can look into, that, or a faucet that you pour water out of? Like, what is the ritual? So I'm offering a practice here, a series of, what is the ritual or the practice we might consider that allows us to enter into a space of envisioning what can be gained through this transition? If you, for example, were to sit at the sink and pour water into a cup, you're actually pouring the blessing and gifts that you aren't even aware of, that are waiting for you inside of us. And then what if you were to invoke whatever blessing is called for, and then drink from that cup? What would that do? What would that feel? What is there a journal, right, where you might engage a practice of actually free? I see you writing. I like the idea of you writing for some reason, freely. Do you journal?
Yes, I do. That's why I'm smiling, because I'm like, okay. Yes.
Yeah. So like, there's something there, and my hand is going like this. There seems to be a free, like, relationship with what emerges rather than a rigid calculus. And allow your hand to guide you into a place of discovery on what's to gain.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you. My pleasure, and thanks for offering.
How do I hop off without getting out of the actual Q&A? Because I've never done this before.
I think maybe I'll just hit I'll hit the X.
Okay.
X. Yeah. Thank you, Mercedes. Bye. Yeah. So, y'all, can we just like shout out? I mean, we're coming up on time, so probably gonna have to close it in a minute. Just shout out all the bravery. Shout out to the bravery. I'm hype. I get hype off of bravery. I get hype off of bravery. Like, people actually showing up to the truth of their lives in a way that actually invites the possibility of discovery, not only for themselves, but for learning community. It's such a profound act. And I want to elevate it. We're just elevating this learning community. We're elevating our capacity to hold each other towards the truth of ourselves, to hold each other in our journeys of homecoming. We're all in journeys of homecoming, going back to the truth of who we are. That's what we're up to. And we want to be more choiceful and more willful in that process. We want to be, we bring strategy as needed, right? We bring new skill and tools as needed, right? But we're in journeys back home in the process. And that's a beautiful thing. So just feeling just grateful. Brother Darren, take a few minutes longer. Okay, I appreciate that, brother. Thank you. I don't know if I'm missing. I just had to just express some gratitude to Mel and Mercedes for showing up. And Louise. Yeah. Excited to be intentional this spring. Me too. Shout out to intentionality, right? Season of spring. And so as we open up this space here, first, the invitation was to consider, like, what does spring mean to you? What intentions are you bringing to this moment of spring, right? What intentions are you bringing to it? And what will keep you guided through it? What's your starlight? What will keep you guided, right? And what shells are asking to be opened up a little bit, for that light to come out. We also got the light within, right? So beautiful. Just appreciating. I hope that this is resonating and supportive for all y'all. Look at y'all. Okay, spring is here. Yeah. Yeah, Mel, thank you for showing up. I want to before closing, want to just thank you all for being present and just rocking through this exploration. And I want to shout out the HealHaus Therapy Fund. And so please let's honor the HealHaus Therapy Fund. It's a beautiful resource to bring therapy support to our people and to community. And so kind of doing this in honor to invite us, right, to offer up our love and donation support there. You can do it at HealHaus.com /therapy-fund. And I want to also just invite y'all to stay in touch with me. And so I pin my handle. Just feel free to follow me. Let's stay engaged. Let's stay in learning community, right? Just follow me, hit me up. We can keep exploring. Do my best to continue to offer resources and spaces for us to discover. Shout out to Darian and Lisa and just the HealHaus fam for just opening up community always, for us to discover and learn together. If anything here really resonated with you, if the invitations to my pleasure, Brother Darian. If the invitations to take up this notion of spring with intention and with greater resource and choicefulness resonated with you, and you'd like to go further, and there are a series of tools that I'm offering up to community to take up these notions of an intentional moment of renewal. Just head to my Instagram page or my full website, myfullname.com, and you'll check some resources there. So feel free to follow me there. And let's continue the journey of conscious self-renewal. Let's continue, y'all. Let's continue. If the invitations to consider the seasons of your life, the starlight, what keeps you guided, the shells of what keeps us kind of safe and protected, the soil, what we're surrounded by, what keeps us grounded, the sprouts, what's emerging, kind of, and what are we offering up to the world. If these things resonated with you, then yeah, hit me up, engage me, and we'll continue exploration. You can find it on the page or on my website, which is myfullname.com. Sending love to all y'all. And thanks, Mel. Appreciate you. Thanks again, Mel. Oh, what's up, Tina? Thank you all. Appreciate you coming through. Beautiful to see you. I didn't realize you were here, Tina. Love to you. Love to everybody. And I wish you all a beautiful, joyful, healing, replenishing, expansive, adventurous, and connective to all that is meaningful to you spring. May it be so. May all people be free and resourced and healthy. Love to y'all. Peace.